Every time you scroll online, someone's buying a house. Someone else just bought a Tesla. Your friend's posting from Bali again. And you're sitting there thinking, what am I doing wrong? Why does everyone else have it figured out except me? But here's the truth nobody's telling you. You might actually be doing way better than you think. Almost 60% of Americans can't even cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing money. So if you've got some savings, if you pay your bills on time, if you're investing even a little bit each month, you're already ahead of most people. The problem is, nobody tells you that. Because social media keeps showing you what rich looks like, not what financially healthy looks like. And today, we're changing that narrative. We're going to walk through 9 signs that prove you're doing well financially, even if it doesn't feel like it. Because confidence doesn't come from comparing yourself to highlight reels. It comes from recognizing your own quiet wins. If you're ready to stop feeling behind and start seeing how far you've actually come, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment saying financially stable. Because what you're about to discover might completely change how you see your money. But here's what most people miss. Sign number 1. You have an emergency fund. Look, here's something nobody tells you when you're just starting to get your finances together. Having an emergency fund isn't sexy. Nobody's going to congratulate you for it. You can't post it on Instagram. There's no applause, no trophy, no celebration. But it's one of the most powerful signs that you're doing well financially, even if it doesn't feel like it. Because here's what an emergency fund really gives you. Control. When your car breaks down at the worst possible time, when work suddenly slows down, when life throws you one of those curveballs it loves to throw, you don't panic. You don't reach for your credit card in desperation. You don't lose sleep wondering how you're going to make it through the month. You just handle it calmly. That's real financial freedom. Not fancy cars or luxury vacations. Just the quiet peace of knowing you can weather a storm without your entire life falling apart. There's an ancient story that captures this perfectly. In the book of Genesis, Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream about 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. His advice? Store grain during the good years to survive the lean ones. That wisdom is thousands of years old, but it's more relevant today than ever. Your emergency fund is your stored grain. It's what keeps you standing when everyone else is scrambling. But here's what's crazy. And this should actually make you feel incredible if you've managed to save anything at all. According to recent data, 59% of Americans wouldn't be able to cover a $1,000 emergency from savings. More than half the country would have to go into debt if life threw them even a small curveball. A broken furnace. An unexpected medical bill. A minor car repair. Things that aren't catastrophes, just normal life happening, would send most people into a financial crisis. So if you've managed to save up even a small emergency fund, trust me, you're already ahead. Maybe it's not the 3 to 6 months of expenses the experts recommend. Maybe it's just $1,000 or $500 or even $200. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you built the foundation. Think of it like building a house. The emergency fund is your foundation. It's not flashy. No one brags about a solid foundation. But when the storm hits, it's the reason the house stays standing while everything around it crumbles. So if you've built an emergency fund, even if it's not as big as you want it to be yet, be proud. You've created something most people never achieve. You've built the foundation for real financial peace, the kind that keeps you steady no matter what happens next. But having money saved is only part of the picture. Because there's another sign that's even more telling about your financial health, and it's something most people struggle with their entire lives. Sign number 2. You're not living paycheck to paycheck. Let's be brutally honest for a second. For most people, payday doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like a sigh of relief. That direct deposit hits your account and for about 5 minutes you feel okay. Then reality kicks in. Rent disappears immediately. Bills get paid. Groceries, gas, that subscription you forgot to cancel, it all vanishes. And by next week, maybe even the next day, you're already counting down until the next paycheck. That's what living paycheck to paycheck really means. Your income covers your expenses, but just barely. There's no margin, no breathing room, no buffer between you and disaster. So if you've reached a point where you're not living paycheck to paycheck anymore, where you can pay all your bills, cover your rent, buy your groceries, and still have money left at the end of the month, that's a massive financial win. Because of that leftover money, that's not just extra cash sitting in your account. That's freedom money. It's the kind of money that lets you save without sacrificing, invest without anxiety, sleep better at night knowing that one unexpected bill won't throw off your entire month or send you spiraling into debt. There's a beautiful teaching in Jewish wisdom about leaving the corners of your field unharvested. It comes from Leviticus, and the principle is simple but profound. Always keep a margin. Always have a buffer. Never consume everything down to zero. The wealthy understood this thousands of years ago. If you harvest every single grain, if you spend every single dollar, you leave yourself vulnerable. But if you maintain space, if you keep reserves, you create resilience. And here's what makes this even more important. It's rarer than people realize. A 2024 Lending Club report found that nearly 60% of Americans are still living paycheck to paycheck. And get this, that includes plenty of people earning six figures. Yeah, even high earners are trapped in that cycle because their spending grows right alongside their income. They make more, they spend more, and they end up in the exact same position, just with nicer stuff and bigger bills. So if you've managed to create even a little breathing room, even just a few $100s left over after your bills are paid, you're doing something most people haven't figured out yet. You've learned a lesson that eludes people who make twice or three times what you make. Because here's the truth that changes everything. Financial success isn't just about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. If you earn $5,000 a month and spend $4,000, you're actually more financially stable than someone earning $10,000 and spending all of it. Why? Because you've built something they don't have: control. You're not chasing your money anymore. You're directing it. You're telling it where to go instead of wondering where it went. And that shift from being controlled by money to controlling money, that's when everything changes. It's not about how big that leftover amount is. It could be $50, it could be $500. What matters is what it represents. Proof that your financial habits are moving in the right direction. Proof that you're building something sustainable instead of just surviving until the next paycheck. Now, having breathing room in your budget is powerful. But there's another habit that quietly separates people who build wealth from people who stay stuck. And most people have no idea how much damage they're doing by ignoring it. Sign number 3. You pay your bills on time. I know what you're thinking. Paying bills on time? That's it? That's supposed to be impressive? But stay with me, because this simple habit is one of the most underrated signs that you're doing well financially, and most people are quietly destroying their financial future by getting this wrong. Here's the reality. Nearly 1 in 6 Americans don't pay their bills on time, according to a 2024 report from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And that might sound like a small issue, something you can fix later, just a little late fee here and there. But in reality, it's one of the biggest habits silently sabotaging people's financial lives. Because paying your bills on time isn't just about avoiding a $25 late fee, though that adds up faster than you think. It's about building something far more valuable. A strong credit profile that opens doors for decades to come. Your payment history makes up 35% of your entire credit score. That's more than a third of the whole calculation. So if you've been consistently paying on time, month after month, you're quietly building one of the strongest foundations of financial stability. Every single on-time payment is like casting a vote for your financial reputation. You're showing lenders, landlords, future employers, and even insurance companies that you're reliable, that you keep your word, that you're someone who can be trusted with responsibility. There's a proverb that says, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." In modern terms, that good name is your credit score. It's your adult report card. And every time you pay on time, you're proving that you deserve a good grade. Let me give you a real example of how powerful this is. Imagine two friends, Ethan and Maya. Ethan always pays his bills, but usually a few days late. He tells himself, "It's fine, it's just a small late fee. I'm still paying, right?" Those small delays start stacking up, not just in fees, but in his credit history. Each late payment is a mark against him. Meanwhile, Maya sets up automatic payments for everything. No stress, no missed dates, no drama. She doesn't even think about it anymore. A year later, Maya's credit score has jumped from 680 to 740. She applies for a car loan and gets approved at 4.5% interest. Ethan applies for the same loan with his 640 credit score and gets stuck with 8.5% interest. On a $30,000 car loan over 5 years, that difference costs him nearly $3,500 in extra interest. $3,500 lost, not because he didn't pay his bills, but because he paid them late. That's the hidden cost of inconsistency. But that's just the obvious part, and what I'm about to say is what makes the difference. Being disciplined enough to pay your bills on time shows something deeper. It shows you have your life organized. It shows you're thinking ahead. It shows you respect your commitments and understand that small decisions compound into big consequences. You don't have to be rich to build good credit. You just have to be reliable. So if you've been paying your bills on time consistently, whether it's because you set up auto pay, marked your calendar, or just developed the discipline to stay on top of it, that's a huge milestone. It's proof that you're managing what you have like a pro. And honestly, being financially healthy isn't about having the biggest paycheck. It's about managing what you already have with consistency and respect. But paying bills on time protects your financial foundation. The next sign? It's about actually building something on top of that foundation, something that separates people who stay comfortable from people who become wealthy. Sign number 4, you're investing, even small amounts. Here's the truth that most people learn way too late. Saving money isn't enough. I don't care how disciplined you are, how much you cut back, how many lattes you skip. If all you're doing is saving money in a regular bank account, you're losing ground. Because inflation is eating away at your purchasing power every single year. That dollar you save today will buy less tomorrow. You're running on a treadmill, working hard but going nowhere. But if you're investing, even if it's just $20, $50, or $100 a month, you're already doing something that most people never start doing soon enough. And that puts you way ahead. Because investing isn't just about making money. It's about letting your money make money for you. That's the magic everyone talks about, but few people actually experience. Compounding. When you invest, your returns start earning returns of their own. It's like planting a tree. The first year it's just a small sapling. You water it, you tend to it, but it doesn't look like much. Then it grows branches. Then those branches grow more branches. Then leaves appear. Over time, that tiny tree becomes something massive. Not because you kept planting new trees, but because the first one kept growing on its own. That's how small, consistent investments turn into serious wealth. There's a parable in the Bible called the parable of the talents. A master gives 3 servants different amounts of money before going on a journey. 2 of them invest it and multiply it. The third buries his money in the ground out of fear. When the master returns, he's furious with the one who let the money sit idle. The lesson? Money must work. It must multiply. It can't just exist in a savings account collecting dust. It needs to grow or you're wasting its potential. And history backs this up completely. The S&P 500, which tracks America's 500 biggest companies, has delivered roughly a 10% average annual return over the past decade. That means even through recessions, crashes, pandemics, and market chaos, the people who stayed invested came out way ahead of the people who kept their cash under the mattress or in a savings account, earning 0.5%. But here's the catch, and this is where most people go wrong. They try to time the market. They jump in when it's hot and everyone's making money. Then they panic when it drops and sell at the worst possible time. The real winners, they're the ones who just stay in and let time do the heavy lifting. That's why every expert says the same thing. Time in the market beats timing the market. Warren Buffett said it best. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Let me show you what that looks like in real life. Alex and Jordan are friends. Alex starts investing $100 a month at age 25. Jordan says, "I'll wait until I'm making more money. I'll start when I'm 35. 10 years later, Jordan finally starts investing the same $100 a month. They both keep going until they're 60. By retirement, Alex ends up with around $200,000. Jordan? Just $90,000. That 10-year delay cost him over $100,000. And all Alex did was start earlier. Same monthly amount. Same investments. The only difference was time. That's the power of compounding. It rewards patience, not perfection. So if you're investing anything, even if it feels small, even if you wish it were more, you're building something most people never build. You're making your money work for you instead of the other way around. And that mindset shift? That's when you stop being someone who just earns money and start becoming someone who builds wealth. Now, investing is about building your future. But the next sign is about protecting your present. And it's something that silently destroys more people's finances than almost anything else. Sign number 5. You don't constantly compare yourself to others. It's so easy to scroll through Instagram or TikTok and feel like everyone else is winning. Someone just bought their dream house. Someone else is driving a Tesla. Your college roommate is posting from Bali again. And you're sitting there thinking, what am I doing wrong? Why am I so far behind? But here's the truth. They're not showing you. You're not seeing the full story. You're seeing the highlight reel, not the behind-the-scenes reality, not the debt, not the help from family, not the fact that they might be drowning financially while looking successful online. When you stop comparing your financial journey to someone else's carefully curated feed, that's a major sign of growth. Because the moment you realize their story isn't yours, that their timeline, their advantages, their circumstances are completely different, your focus shifts. You stop asking, how am I doing compared to them? And start asking, am I improving compared to where I was yesterday? That shift in perspective changes everything. Let me give you some perspective that might shock you. According to the Federal Reserve's 2022 Survey of Consumer Finances, the median net worth for Americans under 35 is about $39,000. For ages 35 to 44, it jumps to around $135,000. What does that tell you? A lot of the people you see living big online are simply further along in life. They're older, they're more established, or they're benefiting from things you don't see. Family money, inheritance, debt they're hiding. You're comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20, and that's not fair to you. There's a quote often attributed to Theodore Roosevelt: comparison is the thief of joy. But it's more than that. Comparison is also the thief of progress. Because when you're constantly measuring yourself against someone else's highlight reel, you miss your own wins. You discount your progress. You ignore how far you've actually come. Wait, there's something you need to pay attention to if you don't want to lose everything. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much time he gains, who does not look to see what his neighbor says, or does, or thinks, but only at what he does himself." Focus on your own lane, your own race, your own progress, because that's the only thing you can actually control. Here's where the mindset shift happens. Instead of scrolling and feeling inadequate, start measuring yourself against yourself. Ask questions like, did I save more this month than last month? Did I invest more? Did I pay down debt? Did I build better habits? Did I learn something new about money? Those are the questions that matter, not whether someone else took a nicer vacation or bought a bigger house. Let me give you a quick example. Your friend posts a photo from Bali, and you feel that sting of envy. Why can't I travel like that? But then you remind yourself, I saved an extra $300 this month. I increased my 401k contribution. My credit score went up 20 points. I'm building something real, something sustainable. Your goals are different from theirs. Your path is different, and that's not just okay. That's exactly how it should be. You're building quietly, not performing loudly. When you stop comparing, you stay in your lane. You build something real based on your goals, your values, and your timeline. That's not arrogance or denial. That's financial maturity. So if you've noticed yourself scrolling less, comparing less, and focusing more on your own growth, that's a clear sign you're doing well financially, because confidence in your own path is worth way more than keeping up with someone else's illusion. But not comparing yourself to others is only half the equation. The other half? Actually knowing what's happening with your own money. And that's where most people completely fall apart. Sign number 6. You know where your money is going. Here's one of the clearest indicators that you're doing well financially, and it has nothing to do with how much you make. You know your numbers. You know exactly how much comes in every month and where it's going. Rent, food, savings, investments, even the fun stuff. You might not track every single coffee or create a color-coded spreadsheet, though if you do, that's great. But you can open your banking app and roughly tell someone how your money is allocated. And that awareness? That puts you ahead of most people. Because the truth is, most people have no idea where their money goes. They'll say, I don't understand why I'm always broke. I make decent money. But then you look closer, and it's daily takeout lunches, random Amazon purchases, subscriptions they forgot they signed up for 6 months ago, streaming services they never watch. It's not that they don't make enough money, it's that their money disappears quietly, invisibly, without them even noticing. There's a saying that captures this perfectly. If you don't know where your money is going, how do you expect to ever save any? That's why awareness is so powerful. When you actually know your income and expenses, when you can see the full picture, you take back control. You stop saying, where did all my money go? And you start saying, I know exactly where it went, and I chose that. That shift from victim to director, that's everything. Think of it like your diet. If you never track what you eat, you'll never know why you're not feeling healthy. You'll just wonder why nothing's working. But once you start writing it down, even for just a week, the patterns become obvious. You see what's helping you and what's holding you back. You see the truth you've been avoiding. Money works exactly the same way. All of the above will be meaningless if you miss the last detail. According to a 2024 Intuit survey, about 65% of Americans have no idea how much they spent last month. Think about that. 2/3 of the country is just winging it financially, hoping there's something left at the end of the month. They're flying blind, making financial decisions with no data, no awareness, no plan. Just hope and luck. And hope is not a strategy. So if you check your bank balance regularly, if you track your expenses using apps like Mint or YNAB, or even if you just keep simple notes on your phone, you're already miles ahead of the average person. You're not guessing. You're not hoping. You know. And knowledge is the foundation of every good financial decision. But here's what makes this even more powerful. When you know where your money is going, you can make intentional choices about where you want it to go instead. Maybe you realize you're spending $200 a month on food delivery when you could meal prep for $80. That's $120 a month you could redirect into investments. Over a year, that's $440. Over 10 years at 8% returns, that's over $22,000. All because you paid attention. Benjamin Franklin said, "Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship." He wasn't talking about one big financial disaster. He was talking about the tiny, invisible leaks that drain your wealth slowly over time. The $6 coffee, the $15 subscription, the $40 impulse buy. None of them feels like much in the moment. But when you track them, when you see them all together, you realize you're bleeding money without even knowing it. So if you already have a clear idea of what's coming in and where it's going, even if it's not perfect, even if there's room to improve, that's a strong sign of financial maturity. Because financial health doesn't start with how much you make. It starts with knowing what you do with what you make. And once you have that awareness, once you have that clarity, you can start making real changes that actually stick. Now, knowing where your money goes is powerful. But there's one more sign that separates people who survive financially from people who truly thrive. And it's something most people never even attempt. Sign number 7, you're building multiple income streams. If there's one thing that separates people who survive financially from people who truly thrive, it's this. They don't depend on just one source of income. They build multiple streams. And if you're already doing that, even in small ways, even if it's just getting started, that's a major sign you're not just doing well, you're thinking ahead. You're building real security that most people never achieve. Let's be brutally honest about something. Relying on a single paycheck today is risky. One layoff, one medical issue that forces you out of work, one bad quarter at your company, one industry disruption, and suddenly your entire lifestyle, your ability to pay bills, your future, it's all on the line. When all your income comes from one job, you're basically putting all your eggs in one basket and then hoping, praying that nothing happens to it. That's not a strategy, that's a gamble. Warren Buffett said it best, never depend on a single income, make an investment to create a second source. That one mindset shift, from relying on one paycheck to creating options, can change your entire financial future. Having multiple income streams isn't about hustling nonstop or working yourself to death. It's about stability. It's about knowing that if something changes at work, your world won't come crashing down. It's about building a safety net that catches you before you fall. And it's becoming more common because people are waking up to this reality. According to a 2024 U.S. Census Bureau report, over 40% of Americans now have a secondary source of income. A separate Bank of America survey found that nearly 57% of millennials have at least one side hustle. And here's what's important. They're not just doing it for extra spending money. They're doing it for long-term flexibility and peace of mind. They're building insurance against uncertainty. But here's the thing, and this is where people get it wrong. Your extra income stream doesn't need to be huge. It doesn't need to replace your main job. Maybe it's $200 a month from selling digital products. Maybe it's $100 from dividend stocks. Maybe it's $300 from freelancing on weekends. It's not the amount that matters, it's what it represents. You're learning to make money outside of your main job. That's not just more income, that's more independence. That's options. That's freedom. Think of your income like a table. If your table has only one leg, what happens when that leg breaks? The whole thing collapses. But if it has 3 or 4 sturdy legs, it stands solid no matter what happens to one of them. That's exactly how multiple income sources protect your financial life. They give you stability that a single income can never provide. There's ancient wisdom in the book of Ecclesiastes that captures this perfectly. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Written thousands of years ago, but it's talking about the exact same principle. Diversify your income sources because you never know what's coming. One stream dries up, you have others flowing. That's not paranoia, that's preparation. And you don't have to be rich or a business owner to start. You can start small. Drive for Uber on weekends. Start a YouTube channel about something you love. Create digital art and sell it online. Invest a little in dividend-paying ETFs. Offer freelance services in your area of expertise. It's not about starting big, it's about starting at all. Because every extra dollar you earn outside your main job moves you one step closer to freedom. So if you've already started building extra income streams, or even if you're just thinking seriously about it, mapping it out, researching options, taking the first steps, that's a huge milestone. It shows you've shifted from a survival mindset to a growth mindset. You're not just working for money anymore. You're learning to make money work for you. And that shift? That's when you stop being an employee and start becoming an architect of your own financial future. But building multiple income streams shows you're thinking strategically about money. The next sign goes even deeper. It shows you have the emotional maturity to protect yourself from one of the biggest wealth destroyers in modern life. Sign number 8. You can say no to things you can't afford. Here's a sign of financial maturity that nobody talks about, but it's one of the most powerful indicators that you're doing well. You can say no to things you can't afford, and you don't feel guilty about it. Your friends invite you to an expensive dinner, a weekend trip that would blow your budget, concert tickets that cost more than your grocery bill. And instead of saying yes and swiping your card and dealing with the regret later, you pause. You check your budget, and if it doesn't fit, you decline. Without guilt, without shame, without feeling like you're missing out on life. Most people can't do this. They feel the pressure. They feel the FOMO, the fear of missing out. They think everyone else is going. What will they think if I say no? Will they think I'm broke? Will they stop inviting me? So they say yes anyway. They put it on the credit card. They tell themselves they'll figure it out later. And then later comes and they're stressed and they're in debt and they're wondering why they can't get ahead financially. This is why. Because they can't say no. But if you've reached the point where you can decline invitations or purchases that don't fit your budget without feeling bad about it, that's massive. That's financial confidence. That's knowing your priorities and protecting them. You're not being cheap. You're not depriving yourself. You're protecting your future from your present impulses. And that takes strength that most people never develop. There's a Jewish teaching from Pirkei Avot that asks, who is rich? And the answer is beautiful. One who is satisfied with their portion. Real wealth isn't about having everything. It's about being content with what you have and not chasing what you don't need just because someone else has it. The Stoics believed something similar. Epictetus wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The less you need to impress others, the richer you actually are. Wait, there's something you need to pay attention to if you don't want to lose everything. Every time you say yes to something you can't afford, you're saying no to something that actually matters. You're saying no to your emergency fund. You're saying no to paying off debt. You're saying no to investing in your future. You're trading long-term security for short-term validation. In that trade, it's always a losing deal. Let me tell you a story that makes this real. Someone I know got invited to a destination wedding. Beautiful location. All their friends were going. But the total cost, flights, hotel, outfits, gifts, would have been around $5,000. They looked at their budget and realized they couldn't afford it without going into debt or wiping out their emergency fund. So they said no. They sent a thoughtful card and a gift. They didn't make excuses or apologize excessively. They just said, "I can't make it work financially right now, but I'm so happy for you." Some friends understood, some didn't. But here's what happened next. 6 months later, their car broke down. Major repair, $3,000. And instead of panicking, instead of scrambling for a loan or maxing out credit cards, they pulled from their emergency fund and handled it. Meanwhile, their friends who went to the wedding, they were still paying off credit cards and stressing about money. That's the power of saying no to what doesn't matter, so you can say yes to what does. Here's your move. Practice saying this phrase, "That sounds amazing, but it's not in my budget right now. Let's do something else instead. Coffee? A hike? Movie night at my place?" Real friends respect boundaries. They'll understand. They'll adjust. And if they don't, if they pressure you or make you feel bad for being responsible with money, that tells you everything you need to know about them, and it has nothing to do with you. Every no to what doesn't matter is a yes to what does. Every time you protect your budget, you're protecting your peace. You're protecting your future. You're proving to yourself that you're in control. Not your impulses, not social pressure, not anyone else's expectations. Just you, making intentional decisions based on what truly matters. So if you can say no when you need to, if you can set boundaries around your money without feeling guilty, that's not just a sign you're doing well financially. that's a sign you're emotionally mature enough to build real, lasting wealth. Because wealth isn't just about the money you have, it's about the control you have over yourself. And speaking of control, there's one final sign that might be the most important of all, because it determines whether everything else you're building will actually last. Sign number 9. You're learning about money. Here's the final sign, and honestly it might be the most important one of all. If you're learning about money, if you're watching videos like this, reading books about personal finance, asking questions about investing, trying to understand concepts that feel complicated or intimidating, that alone puts you ahead of 80% of the population. Most people avoid learning about money their entire lives. They ignore it. They're intimidated by it. They tell themselves, I'm just not good with numbers, or finance is too complicated for me. And that avoidance costs them everything. Let me be clear about something. Only 57% of American adults are financially literate, according to recent studies. That means nearly half the country can't answer basic questions about interest rates, inflation, or investment risk. They're navigating one of the most important aspects of their lives, money, completely blind, making decisions with no foundation, no knowledge, just hope and guessing. And that's why so many people stay stuck. But you? If you're here right now, if you're actively seeking to understand money better, if you're willing to feel uncomfortable while you learn, you're doing something most people never do. You're investing in the most valuable asset you'll ever own, your financial education, and that investment pays dividends for the rest of your life. There's a verse in the book of Hosea that says, "My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge." That was written thousands of years ago, but it's more relevant today than ever. People aren't struggling financially because they're lazy or stupid. They're struggling because nobody ever taught them how money actually works. And instead of learning, they just keep repeating the same mistakes, hoping for different results. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people in the world, built his entire fortune on one principle. The more you learn, the more you earn. He reads 500 pages a day. Not because he has to, because he understands that knowledge compounds just like investments. Every concept you learn today, compound interest, index funds, tax advantages, credit utilization, dollar cost averaging, becomes a tool you can use for decades. But that's just the surface. What's behind it is what will startle people. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to understand every complex financial instrument or become a day trader. You just need to be curious. You just need to be willing to learn one new thing at a time. One concept per month. 10 pages of a book before bed. One financial podcast during your commute. That's it. Small, consistent learning that builds into massive understanding over time. Here's a story that proves it. A teacher making $45,000 a year started learning about money at age 28. She felt like it was too late. All her friends seemed further ahead, but she committed to learning. She read books from the library. She listened to podcasts on her drive to work. She asked her coworkers questions about their 401ks without feeling embarrassed. She Googled terms she didn't understand. She made mistakes and learned from them. By age 35, she had built an $80,000 net worth. Her coworkers, making the same salary, had almost nothing saved. The difference? She invested in knowledge first, and that knowledge showed her how to invest her money. She learned that small amounts invested consistently beat large amounts invested sporadically. She learned about tax-advantaged accounts. She learned about compound interest. She learned about avoiding high-fee funds. None of it was complicated once she actually learned it. But she had to be willing to start. Here's your move. Commit to learning one new money concept per month. Just one. This month, maybe it's understanding how a Roth IRA works. Next month, maybe it's learning about index funds. The month after, maybe it's understanding your credit score. 12 months from now, you'll have learned 12 concepts that 90% of people never learn. And that knowledge, that becomes the foundation of every smart financial decision you make for the rest of your life. Financial success isn't about being rich. It's about being educated enough to make good decisions consistently. And if you're learning, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it feels slow, even when you don't understand everything right away, you're building wealth that nobody can ever take from you. Because once you know, you know. And that changes everything. If you've made it this far, here's the truth you need to hear. You don't need a six-figure income, a Tesla, or a mansion to be financially successful. You just need discipline, awareness, and the patience to keep doing the right things. Even when no one's watching, even when it doesn't feel glamorous, even when social media makes you feel like you're falling behind. So don't underestimate the quiet wins. If you have even 3 or 4 of these 9 signs, you're doing better than most people will ever do. That emergency fund you're building, that matters. Those bills you pay on time, that's building something real. That $50 a month you're investing, that's your future taking shape right now. Here's what I want you to do. Drop a comment below telling me which of these 9 signs you already have and which one you're working on next. Just pick one. Focus on that. Because financial success isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in small, consistent steps that compound over time. If this video helped you see your finances differently, smash that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to hear they're doing better than they think. Because sometimes financial success isn't about being rich, it's about being stable, secure, and in control. And if you have even half of these signs, you're winning, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Keep going. You're closer than you think.